What is up, everyone? Welcome to another Super Smash Bros. Ultimate video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Let's Make Moves Miami and the conclusion of what is, if not the biggest win for a Steve in Smash Ultimate so far. So if you guys didn't know, Let's Make Moves Miami was this weekend. A big major tournament with lots of good players, including the current #2 player in the world, Akala, who is the biggest Steve main, along with the second best Steve main, or arguably first best Steve main in the world, Onin, who has been on a tournament tear lately. We got, and the final climactic event that everybody is talking about, that's all you're going to hear from this tournament, is that we did finally have our inevitable Steve Grand Finals. Both players, both Onin and Akola, made it to Grand Finals and did the Steve Ditto. Onin kind of got destroyed by Akola if you actually go and watch the set. It seems like Onin isn't very capable of fighting Akola in the Steve Ditto. So he did go with some secondaries, and he kind of got washed with the secondaries as well, just because Steve is crazy and so is Akala. So Akala kind of beat up Onin in the Grand Finals, and Akala did not have a perfect bracket. He didn't make it through winners. He actually made it through losers after getting 3-0'd by Mudace. He would make it to losers and then play Mudace again, who lost to Onin in losers finals, who he would beat and then go on to win 2 sets of Grand Finals. But what everybody's talking about is the inevitable Steve ban topic has been brought up once again. Obviously, the similarities to Smash 4 Bayonetta, where we had the Smash 4 Bayonetta Grand Finals at EVO, is the comparison that has been being made a lot on Twitter. And I just want to make this video kind of as like an update video for the pros and cons. I kind of make this after every big Steve win, and I wanted to talk about some of the arguments on both sides. So obviously, banning Steve, I want to make a statement that I don't think banning Steve will ever happen, just because of how PandaCup specifically works. Since PandaCup is officially partnered with Nintendo, since Steve is so controversial, it's not like he's just so oppressively broken #1. Every single person you have to, it's not like in Smash 4 Brawl or like Brawl where if you weren't playing Meta Knight, you were basically choosing to lose. Like if you choose to go up against a Steve with, like, say you choose ZSS against Steve, right? And that's a pretty good matchup for ZSS. Like, you're not going to have a disadvantage just because you pick ZSS. You're not going to have to pick Steve if you want to win these tournaments, because obviously Steve is winning pretty much most of these tournaments, but players like Leo and stuff have been showing dominance without characters like Steve, right? So it's not a character that Nintendo would look at and be like, dang, we made this character way too powerful, we got to ban him, right? This character is never going to, you're never going to hear any character being banned if it's not like an exploit in the game's code, because Nintendo is not going to want to partner with tournaments that are banning its own characters, right? That wouldn't make any sense. So Steve is never going to get banned. But I think the topic of banning Steve is interesting in just community-wide events, maybe not PandaCup sponsored events, but otherwise non-Nintendo associated Smash tournaments. If Steve was ever to get banned, the argument for Steve is getting a lot higher. There are more and more Steve results. We had 8 Steves in top 64, which is a lopsiding number. The only numbers that you really see close to Steve are Rob usually and Pyramithra, but Pyramithra usually is accounted for by secondaries, while most Steves are just pure Steve mains with small secondaries that pretty much never show up. The only Steve secondary I think we saw show up in the top 64 was obviously Onin's secondaries when he couldn't do anything against Akola in Grand Finals. But other than that, there has only been Steve mains, and these Steve mains, 2 of them made it into top 8, obviously Onin and Akola. And I saw a video that I thought was pretty funny on Mudace's Twitter, talking about how his bracket run was pretty much, I think it was Steve, Kazuya, Steve, and if he won again, he would have had to play another Steve, right? So these bracket runs are getting tired for the players. You know, players are getting another big thing was that a lot of people were leaving the venue after Onin won, after Akola won against Mudace and went in losers finals. There was a large majority of people that actually walked out of the venue, and Twitch viewership dropped significantly around that time, right? So that's the biggest problem that would need to be addressed eventually, is that even when players even there's a player that's hated, right, people will usually stick around to watch the Grand Finals of an event, right? That's the whole reason you're there, is to watch, to see who wins the event. You don't normally have people literally walking out of the venue, and you might have some, but not a majority of people not wanting to watch the set. That's going to be a big problem if this continues eventually, because this is just the beginning, right? If this continues to the point where it was with Bayo, and even worse, where people just don't want to watch Steve play each other or want to watch Steve play at all, and people start leaving and the viewers numbers stop dropping a lot more significantly, this could be a big issue, and I think that would be more the reason to ban Steve, just for viewership numbers and for people actually attending the events, because people truly hate this character so much that they're not even going to stay and watch a grand finals for a big Smash event that they paid money to get into. I feel like that's the bigger root of the problem, and you can say that people's mindsets are bad and it's a loser mentality. You know, we're playing a game with lots of janky characters, there's all sorts of jank in this game, so when we're playing Smash Ultimate, it's not supposed to be a completely fair game, and I can understand that, but it gets to a point where you're just repeating the same mistakes we've made in the past, and you have people saying that it's to the level of Bayo. I won't say that yet. I'll say once we get like 3 or 4 Steves in a top 8 at a big major, then I'll say that it's like Bayonetta, and I would make that direct comparison. But until it gets to that point, I don't think really banning Steve would have any merit in the game, but I think the only merit would be those viewership numbers. If they continue to drop and tournament viewership goes down, people stop going to these events because they don't want to play Steve, and top players start quitting because of Steve, I feel like that's the biggest argument for banning a character like Steve. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think Steve should be banned anytime soon? Make sure to leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'll be reading every single one of them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as always, and I will see you guys next time.